Hey everyone, I'm Amy,
And I'm Sarah.
and together we're Unscripted. So, Sarah, would you like to start us off?
Sure. A little bit about us before we get into today's podcast. So, I am Sarah, and I have been a pagan now, practicing pagan for over 30 years. I have known Amy pretty much our entire lives since we were like 10 years old. And we have basically become biological, unbiological sisters. So, we are into everything that's the same, but she kind of is the opposite of me. So we kind of, bounce off one another. I am into everything spooky, paranormal, witchcraft, magic, theories, conspiracy theories, multiverse theories. I'm literally the believer in our group, and Amy is the wannabe believer. So yeah, that's a little bit about me, and I know you're gonna enjoy today's podcast. So I'm handing it over to Amy.
Oh joy. So yeah, I'm the one that I want to believe, and in order for me to believe, wholeheartedly, I've got to try to debunk it. So I'm one of those. So I told Sarah I'm going to be playing the devil's advocate here a bit, but it's all it's all, it's part of what needs to happen for this to be, kind of balanced, I'll say. Um, I am an upcoming horror author. I love all things horror, all things spooky. I told Sarah horror is my happy place. Um, I obviously believe in the paranormal, the supernatural. I love delving into theories, even if they seem ridiculous. Like I said, that's part of that debunking thing that I try to do. Um, but yeah, I thought that this would be fun for us to do. Just, like-minded people can listen, you know, even if we have 2 subscribers, I don't care because we're doing this because, this is just
We
something
enjoy
that
it.
we want to do. Yeah. And we want to look back at it and be like, hey, remember when we did that and talked about, oh my God, we wouldn't shut up or whatever. It'd be fun.
Absolutely.
Memories.
40 years from now, this is us in 40 years saying, "Hey, look what we did. Remember when we were young and beautiful and attractive and we were, um
Queen.
podcasters."
Sure. Okay. We can go with that. So today we decided it would be pretty cool to do our first podcast based on multiverse theory. As Sarah mentioned, one of the things that she's, a big believer in, only because there's a lot to it. And we're not going to talk about like the scientific parts. You could read about that stuff on Google or whatever. But we we want to talk about what we think it is, some popular theories going on about it. Like it's got a lot of subgenres to it. For instance, like Mandela effect, how it could play into the multiverse theory. We'd like to go over that and our opinions on it. Glitches in the matrix, same thing. How does that play into it? And how we think that this multiverse theory, like, or the multiverse in general, how it originated. And from there, can we get into it and what can come out of it? So,
Which we can. I know we can. I believe it. So,
so let's delve into the Mandela effect. I know that a lot of people, I'm one of them. Like, let's talk about the Berenstain Bears. I don't remember it being Berenstain, okay? But I don't have any of my books, to prove it. But I
mhm,
remember it was Berenstein. Anyway,
mhm. It was
regardless,
always Berenstain. So again, you and I differ on that. It was always Berenstain because that's who,
Berenstain,
was created for Berenstain. So
yeah, Jan and Stan Berenstain. It was like
something like that.
Stain, but it wasn't. It's not. I'm telling you, it's not. But regardless, it's fine. There's a lot of people who, remember different things like I do or like Sarah does. There's been people who talk about, whatever, tomato, tomato, right? There's been people who, they try to debunk it saying, well, it's just part of our physiological brains. We tend to misremember certain things or over time, we lose the details and, they're trying to explain it away, for that. But I don't really buy, sometimes, yeah, but I don't believe that's the true scope
Mhm.
of, the Mandela effect. I don't think we're all just misremembering. There's actually been some proof actually regarding that, like the lady who found the cornucopia in the Fruit of the Loom logo. And I mean, I'm
Mhm.
telling you, that's some of it is just the government gaslighting us, but we'll talk about that another time.
Yeah, we could talk about that. I've got a whole thing on government conspiracy theories, but that's not
Exactly.
today's choice.
So it could also be like a mass delusion, like one person says, "Oh, I remember it like this," and then suddenly all these other people start remembering it like that. And it
Mhm.
could be, especially with social media, I mean, that's how we spread the word about certain, theories, and I'm grateful for it.
The
But
telephone game. Remember the telephone game we would play as kids? How it
yeah,
would start out with one person saying one thing and turn into
yeah,
something completely different towards the end of the game. So
yeah,
absolutely, I believe that there's a lot of, pull and take here.
yeah, absolutely. So, with the Mandela effect, how do you think that it plays into the multiverse theory? Like, I know that some things that I read online, I can't find the statistics on this. Like, I can't find it in Google. I don't know why, because I was like, well, hello, I need it, but I can't find it. I've seen it in like YouTube videos where they talk about um the our universe collided with another, like in a certain
Mhm.
year. I don't know if it was 2020 or 2012 or something, but
We did.
supposedly people think that, yeah, we collided, and that's why some of these things changed all of a sudden. What's your take on that?
Right. I actually believe that the world technically did collide, but I think it was back in during the Y2K. So in the year like 1999 to 2000, I think that we came together on a weird dimensional plane. I believe that one type of multiverse hit another one, and that's how we've overlapped in time, and how some people can remember things slightly different than others. I believe that that's how we've all become, confused because you know something, you feel something, and then you got somebody telling you similar but not the same. So I believe that we did actually start crossing over on the certain planes of existence during that time. Once technology came into effect, things just started happening, and I think it started happening in our brains. I think it was like a chemical reaction to something. Now I can't say it was like chemicals in general, but I can say it's like a chemical reaction in the brain, kind of like a bipolar disorder where your chemicals get a little scrambled. So I think something along those lines may have happened in regards to like the Mandela effect and the different synchronicities, but remembering something from a different time, yet it's kind of replaying itself, which is
Mm.
another theory we can get into is does history repeat itself? So
Oh,
I believe it
good one.
does, but
Okay. Yeah.
it may or may not. So I believe it does, but I think that could be why there's a crossover right now.
So then with the Mandela effect and what you were talking about and some of the theories, they talk about, maybe this person just time jumped into, a universe where it was Berenstain instead of Berenstein, or, like there's TikTok videos and people who post on Reddit all the time about they woke up one day and their red toothbrush was orange, or just little
Mhm.
differences throughout the day. Luckily, I haven't had that happen yet. I say that and now it's going to happen tomorrow.
Don't
But
forget to knock on wood. Hold
yep,
on. I don't
just
have wood. Here. There.
we're safe. We're safe now.
We're safe.
Um,
We're good.
but if there is such a thing as like time jumping, timeline jumping, how would that work in regards to either our, like, okay, if we exist in like another, multiverse, a universe, and we time jumped into that one, then there would be two of us. So like how would we have the same life? You know what I mean? That doesn't make sense to me unless that one died, or I don't know.
Right.
Like
No, agreed. But the problem, the thing I'm noticing is if there really was a time gap or a time jump, that means there would be two of us in two different time periods. But the thing is, we all have the same similar, opinions, similar belief system. It may not be exactly the same, but bits and pieces of that reality will coincide with our reality. So, with that being said, doppelgangers are a thing. So, doppelgangers are another reason or another way we can technically time jump. Everybody is starting to see people who look exactly like them, who have similar opinions and thoughts and things like that. I don't know how many times we've, affected, I've met people who look just like me. I've met them that look just like me, but we have similar yet different personalities. So when it comes to time jumping, I think somebody from like the 1920s could come here into, 2025 now, and they can remember things from the 1920s and be kind of thrown off by our new systems, but it still has a little bit of the same effect as theirs did. So, for example, they can, notice that there might be a same grocery store that was there in the 1920s that's still there today, but it's by different owners. There's always those synchronicities that make things, plausible. You can definitely time jump. I believe even the time machines with like Hitler, I believe he went back in time, you know? I think he went back in time, and that's, why things happened the way they did. They claim to have found the body, but I don't believe they found his body. I think they found a doppelganger's body on
Ooh, that's
purpose.
creepy. That's
Mhm.
creepy. I can see my brain, I can't wrap it around what we're talking about right now. Like it's like like seriously, I'm like to me it's like, you have those pictures that supposedly surface online where, back in 1920 you see some guy, with a cell phone recording and you're like, "Wait a second." But is it really 'cause I mean, people with CGI now, you know what I mean? That's really hard for me to believe that, you know,
But CGI wasn't around at that time. Like, those pictures we saw weren't CGI created. They didn't know how to do CGI when those pictures were created. Or the woman who was in the, the really old-time garb in a modern day, public place. Like, they didn't have CGI back then. They just had what people saw.
no, but I'm saying like people can get a hold of those old-timey photos, we all have them. And then they're like, "Oh, this would be perfect," and then they like scan it or they put it in their CGI, Photoshop, whatever the heck, and then they create this new, "Look at what I found, this time jumper," whatever, and they create this whole thread essentially for other people to be like, "Oh, yeah, I think that, I think a lot of it could be created." So I don't think proof can be found like that. I know you're looking like, "Ugh, whatever. That's my job. I gotta try to debunk."
I understand that, and I get where you're coming from, but in all honesty, I don't believe personally that that is, an option. Back when old time, modern day pictures were taken and they saw that old time things, it's just not like it's directly on that person. It's not like they're just saying, "Hey, let me zoom in on this person and make them look like they're from the 20s." That's not how it goes. This is a huge public setting that they were taking, like, for an event. They were taking pictures of the entire event, but that one person in there didn't belong and obviously didn't belong. So
Yeah, that's true.
it wasn't an intentional photo that was altered or CGI'd. I mean, they didn't even expect to see it until they blew up the film and said, "Okay, well that looks odd." And they delved deeper into it and said, "Well, that doesn't make sense." And who knows? It could have been an apparition that was caught on camera. You and I both know that apparitions are caught on camera and in real life. We've experienced that ourselves.
Right.
So, that being said, I do not believe it was altered or CGI in any way, shape, or form. I believe it was something that was kind of, I guess we were talking about glitches earlier, so maybe a glitch in the Matrix system where people were looking back at what they had done. They were just doing an overall thing. They weren't focused on this one person. But when they were going back through their photos, they saw this and it looked odd. So they investigated, blew it up, and determined that that just didn't seem right. And the fact that it was so perfectly in these pictures, you
Yeah,
wouldn't
that's
have
true.
thought that, that it was like altered in any way. I don't think anybody
Yeah.
is that great at perfection with Photoshop. I mean people are good, but I don't think they're
No.
that good.
Yeah, because like then there's like these people who they blow up celebrity I can't talk. Celebrity photos and like, "Oh yeah, well look at," they'll run it through some kind of a either Photoshop D editor or something. You can see what kind of filters have in place on the photo and the
Mhm.
huge difference. Or sometimes people will, they've been called out on social media because it's like, "Oh, well, sure you're that skinny, but if your curves are really like that, then why is the bathroom sink behind you also curved? Or, you can point out. So I see what you're, okay, fine. Case in
Mhm.
point. Good job. Well done. This round goes to Sarah.
Thank
So then you mentioned glitches in the Matrix.
Right.
So obviously this is, I don't want to say it's new. I mean, it's been around for a few years, but I don't know when it started surfacing. Was it like 2016 when people really started talking about, because I mean, the Matrix has been out for a long time, but people didn't really start this theory back then because that came out in 99. Like
Mhm.
they started, talking about it fairly recent in the last decade, I want to say, but I could be wrong. Don't come at me.
You're correct on that. The glitch in the Matrix system, it became more popularized after, the Matrix movies were here and created
Mhm.
and,
Yeah.
watched over and over again. So with in regards to like the telephone game we used to play, it could definitely have been taken pieces of that into modern day society when it comes to glitches. But the reality is glitches are real. So glitches can happen. I mean, there's too many instances where people notice things that just doesn't seem right. For example, the pterodactyl that they caught on camera. I mean,
Yeah.
that couldn't have been CGI altered. They didn't know that technology even existed. It was something weird. They took a picture of it and they saw a video of it and it looked exactly like a pterodactyl who, they were supposedly dead billions of years ago. But it was modern day where they found this. And it was, before, CGI and AI and everything becomes, very big, so this was before all that. So glitches in the Matrix are very, very, important and they're new and they do exist. So the pterodactyl thing is one example. Another example, when we go back in history, we go back to like, Egyptian times and the Mayan Indians. They used to, they were telling us that there was always these snake people or reptilian people that live on Earth and they've come and, told people what to do, things like that. So like alien theories. But they have literal stone creations that they
Yeah.
made and at that time, there was no internet. There was nothing like that. These were legitimately hand carved pictures that people created of
Mhm.
these reptilian things that came to talk to humanity. So that they claim it was a glitch, but it couldn't have been a glitch because this was proven time and time again, years and years and years ago. So everything can't just be fake. It's a real thing. The portals in at the what is it called, Stonehenge.
Oh, yeah.
There's a
I didn't
lot
even say
of
that.
a lot of things that claim to be there had to be some mistake or something just doesn't sound right. It had to be faked. No, it really didn't have to be faked because these legitimately exist. How else would you explain a pterodactyl? How else would you explain Mothman that's been seen on several occasions in people in West Virginia and Ohio? I mean, there's just too many coincidences that these things were seen by different people and people who may not have, access to the technology we have today. So, yes, glitches in the system are a thing. There is glitches in the Matrix, and it's just too coincidental not to be real.
I think that some of them are illusion based. Like, um, okay, so I'm gonna kind of contradict myself here. There
Mhm,
have been, the videos where people post and they're like, look, that airplane, it's just suspended in the air. But really, it's an optical illusion. It's either the way, it's either overcast, you can't really see the depth, or maybe you're going at a faster rate in one direction. So it looks like it's staying still, but it's not. I don't think that it's necessarily like frozen like that. I mean, there's been animals where they're like, oh my God, the animal is completely frozen. It's a glitch in the matrix. But really, like there's a video, I think it was about chickens, and it's something that actually chickens do. They could be in mid walk and they'll completely freeze up because they sense a predator around. And so it could be explained like that. But then there's
mhm,
the flip side where people will be like, okay, you know what? I don't know where the heck that ring went. It's unfortunate. That's an heirloom. I was on vacation in Florida, but I live in Georgia, and then they can't find it. And then maybe their friend that they visited in Florida, they're like, "Hey, I found your ring." There, you're like, "Wait a second, I just found my ring in my drawer. So how do I have two of an identical, piece of jewelry?" So I mean, things like
Yeah.
that, I want to
Again,
believe.
it's real.
Yeah,
This is what I'm saying. I personally have seen planes suspended where I was driving and I thought it was not moving, and I legitimately pulled over to the side of the road, got out of my vehicle, and watched it to see if it would go slowly or something, and I didn't see it moving
yeah,
at all. I was out of my car for a good 20 minutes watching this plane not do anything at all. It just sat there. And the fact that it was so close, I mean, it almost looked as if it were a painting. Where, how those are really intricate paintings, like, not graffiti, but it's just really intricate, like almost like an oil canvas.
yeah,
I
yeah.
guess this was literally in the sky above where I was. And this plane was just sitting there. Like, you couldn't see anything coming out the tail. There was like no smoke. It literally was just sitting
Oh,
there.
good thing.
Again,
You don't want to see
I
smoke coming.
know. I mean, you would think that
I
there
know
would be
what you mean.
something or noise. You would hear it. It didn't even have
Yeah.
any noise to it. So
What do you
that
think the
got me
people on the
thinking,
plane were doing? They're just like
probably
in
staring at
mid
me, like thinking
in
I'm a
mid
psycho
peanut.
woman. Right? No, they thought I was crazy. I'm like standing outside my car. They're probably looking at me like, what the heck's
If
she
they're
doing? Why
moving
is
at
she
all,
doing
like if it really did glitch out, then someone's
that? Well,
stuck on the toilet.
if they did, just, if they are, mid peanut, like you said, they could be mid peanut, you know, it could
I like
very
that
well
theory.
be.
I like
But
that.
either way, glitches in the system, I believe, are real. But I do see your point where things can be altered and things can, our brains do play tricks on us. So I'm not saying it might not have been an illusion. So this round goes to you.
Well, I was just gonna say that, like, in regards to how the glitches in the Matrix relate to Matrix. Did I say Matrix? I meant
Yeah.
Matrix. Relate to whatever, it's fine. To the multiverse theory, I think it's because there's people who believe that I don't know. I'd have to look into that again. It's not like the jumping, like the Mandela effect, but it's almost, I don't know, maybe it doesn't relate at all. Maybe what I read is just talking about, how our world isn't real or
Mhm.
whatever. Like we're
Which
two
is another
dimensional.
theory that we can cover too, because a lot of people think that we are living in a matrix.
Yeah,
So
I know.
they think that we are all basically like
Simulation.
digitally here. So this is all just like a cineplex, kind of like a movie theater where, in the Matrix movie, they had the little goggles that put you into an alternate reality. So again, I mean, that's a maybe. I mean, I believe that, that could possibly be, something that we can look into because it's frightening. It's frightening to think that, we really are living in like a computer digital creation. And it's really confusing that technology wasn't all that popular until recently. So for us to be so far back, if it is a matrix theory and we are in the matrix, for us to be so back, not advanced, and not have that technology already, and then in this weird dimensional world we're supposedly living in, technology comes to existence in that, it's really hard to, say, if we really are living in a digital, matrix type world, because why? I mean, why would that be a thing? Why would we
Mhm.
be in an alternate reality where we, have the helmets and the goggles and here I'm sitting here with, these goggles on and I'm looking at my bedroom, but in all reality I'm sitting in a laboratory, and people are watching my every move.
I can't buy into that. I mean, it's almost like that movie Surrogates too. I've never seen the movie Surrogates, but I mean, the idea that, I mean, they experience pain and, they can still go through like these life events, but
Right.
in a virtual reality. I don't know, because then too many people, they're talking about, oh, they're an NPC. Look at those non-playable characters. They're just, I just don't think I buy into it, but I digress. Um, so there's something else I was going to say, and I completely forgot what it was. and I'm probably not going to remember it because I'm trying to think about it.
Well,
Um, yeah, I don't remember. I'll come back to it if I do, though.
we
So
talked about the Big Bang Theory and how it created multi dimensions.
no,
So,
no, what about the glitch in the Matrix? Surrogates, and then it's gone. Um, crap. Yeah, I don't know. Whatever. It'll come back, maybe. It'll come back later. I'll dream about it. So portals. If because okay, when I think of the multiverse theory, I think about VHS. I don't know if it was the first one. I don't think it was the first one. I think because I'm one of those VHS junkies. I've watched all of them. One of them I didn't really like. I think it was I don't even remember. It was one of the later ones. I didn't really care for it. I think it's VHS 2 that I liked. There's this guy and he was trying to create a he had like this it looked like a time machine, but it wasn't. Instead it was like a portal. And he wanted to get into like another universe or to see what it was all about. And in that story, he did, and he found the other him who was also trying to gain access to the other side. And they both had the same wife, the same name, whatever, but the personalities were a little bit different. Maybe the haircut was a little bit different, but they were even wearing like the same clothes. But this other universe was like demonic and really disgusting. If you guys have seen it, you know what I'm talking about. But that's the kind of stuff that I think about, like, what if there's, a portal, a way for us to get into one of these other universes where we can see the other us if we're in that universe, or, maybe we didn't marry the same person. Ugh, that's creepy, or I don't know. Like
no, that is
what-
definitely creepy.
thinking
Um,
about monstrosities, like, these other people, what if they're not even human,
right, humanoid figures.
Ugh.
No, and it's a reality that we all face now that, portals do exist. Portals are exist and they are on this earthly plane where we are. But to imagine walking through that portal into a demonic universe where there's a demon type version of ourselves, and it's really hard for me to go over because in my head there's a lot of, thoughts on demons and angels and, God, goddesses, all of it. There's a ton of it in my head. And in some of the work I do as a pagan, we work with different deities, right? So if we're working with different deities, most, there's several other religions, I can't say most, but religions that would consider what I do demonic. Okay. But the point I'm trying to get is if we were to walk into a universe with a demonic version of ourselves, would it really be that bad? As religion would it have us expect us to feel? Like, what if demonic planes are really just another plane of existence where, like you said, we'll end up being very similar to ourselves with a little bit of different perspectives, but it's not like we're gonna go in a dimension and start murdering people. I don't think that's the case, I
Blindly.
really believe that there's there the demonic plane, for example, or any other universe, multiverse for that matter, has their own sets of rules and regulations and their own set of standards, like we do here. We have laws, we have regulations, and I'm sure that each dimension has their own. I don't believe that one dimension is superior to another. I think we have our own sets of rules, regulations, laws that we need to follow. And I mean, I guess in a universe, hell and death and murder can all be, the norm, can be, standards and norms. I can see that, but it would be a very scary thing for me to go through a portal and see something so different than what I'm used to. I don't know if I'd be able to adjust properly to it. Now, I'm not saying it's going to be horrible, but I am going to say that it's concerning like that. But there are portals here on our Earth. And Earth's not the only, planet. You know this. We have several planets that show,
I mean,
life.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
Yeah, all
Well,
planets. Go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say I don't put it past like another me. I think there's probably another universe out there where I snapped and I'm probably on their own version of a show called Snapped. Makes sense.
Right.
But then it also has me thinking like the sense of, deja vu. I keep doing air quotes. I gotta stop. That's kind of annoying. But the sense of deja vu, like it's either a psychic phenomenon where we dreamt about, doing something, you know, the day before or maybe a week before, or whatever. Dreams are weird and elusive. But if it's not that, what if deja vu is instead us picking up on something that another version of us did or thought or saw? Maybe we're like somehow connected to that other us,
Mhm.
which is really that really, I think that alone kind of makes me be more pulled towards multiverse theory. Not just because I
Right.
want to, but because there's things that we feel that I don't think can be easily explained by, a trauma memory or you know what I mean? Or just a
Right.
dream. Like I feel like it's something like we just as a spiritual being here on earth, I do believe we're spiritual beings. I
Mhm.
think that it's in our nature to feel that connection to other people, to other things. Some people they like feel that connection to nature and they become botanists and what have you. But I feel like we have a connection with our inner selves, and if there is another version of us, maybe we are
We're
picking up that.
telepathically engaged. We're telepathically involved with our other selves on other dimensional planes. No, that again, I agree that. I agree with you on that one. I believe that there are several versions of ourselves that are slightly tweaked, but we all come and go, at our own paces. We all start believing that, have the same memories, just tweaked. So it's very plausible to, realize that there are, several other dimensions where we would be connected to our, our bodies, our doppelganger bodies. And I keep calling them doppelgangers, but that's honestly the only way I can really express it.
Yeah.
So I think I'm the only one of me. I really don't believe that. And I don't believe you're the only one of you. I believe that
Agree.
we have multiple different versions of ourselves, and that's very scary, you're right. Especially you and me. But it's it's very plausible that we have different versions of ourselves and we can feel and pick up the emotions and sentiments of others. The premonition dreams. I mean, you
Yeah.
feel like you've done this before, but you can't remember a time you did it. So that might not have been you doing it. It could have been somebody else or your doppelganger doing it. And that memory is in your head because we're connected on a chemical or spiritual level. Like you said, we're a spiritual being. So no, I agree. I really do. I believe that, we're all connected to our, you know, multiverse selves in that sense. So I agree with that.
There are like people who talk about metaphysics and like the metaphysical, states, and they they discuss how I lost my train of thought again. How did I just lose it? I was just thinking, don't forget it, and then I forgot it. Crap, that's gone too. I really don't remember what I was gonna say. I mean, I just had it, and then I thought, okay, well, whatever. That sucks. On to portals. So, do you think that, I mean, we could talk about portals like, and we're gonna end up bringing it up in another podcast when we talk about, ghosts and anything. But portals in this regard to the multiverse theory, do you think there's a way that we could access another universe through portals here? Or do you think it's something that literally like our universe would have to like slip into another one in order to like,
Hmm.
how would we
That
access?
that would be a little more difficult to explain.
Yeah.
Um, Portals are real. I know that. I feel that. In my soul, I feel the portals are real. And the fact that, the Bermuda Triangle, I believe, is a portal to another dimension. I believe
Yeah.
they are literally everywhere on Earth. Like every location. I know I'm mostly speaking of like spiritual locations, in that sense. So like the Mayan temples, there's a portal there somewhere. Because where else would the Mayan temples, you know? The Bermuda Triangle, ships just disappear. Where do they
Yeah.
go?
Yeah.
Aliens coming up from the bottom of the ocean, yet when you go down, you don't know where they came from. So, I mean, it's Stonehenge. They've got the little doorway at Stonehenge, or the Aztec temples again, that have the little doorways that you can walk through and then just completely disappear. There was a girl who was, there was another story I heard about a girl who was walking through like a cornfield, and she disappeared, came back 5 years later, older, but still in the same clothes she was wearing when she
Lord.
disappeared 5 years ago. Yet she thought that she hadn't gone anywhere. She says, I've only been gone, 20 minutes. But she was gone for 5 years.
I
So
gotta look up that.
where would they have gone if not through a
Yeah.
portal to a